Nobody's looking out for the working class of Americans, including good, hardworking, wonderful legal immigrants. Impeachment is a message that has to be sent to our president that we're not going to put up with this lawlessness.
4 decades ago this summer, Richard Nixon left the White House a little earlier than he planned. So why is Sarah Palin giving voice to a growing movement suggesting Barack Obama do the same? Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you. I'm Neil Cavuto, and I don't know if it's just the heat or just the summer or just the meltdown at the Mexican border, but leave it to Sarah Palin to just say it and others to quickly pounce on it, some Republicans to follow it. 3 words: impeach Barack Obama. She's had it. And in her strongest language yet, she is letting Americans know it. But before you dismiss her reasons, first understand her reasoning. Now, you don't have to buy it. Frankly, I don't buy it, and I certainly don't think most Republicans buy it. But while they're not open to impeaching him, a good many Republicans in the House sure are open to suing him. I'm no lawyer. Either way, it's a mess. But that got me and Michelle Bachmann going at each other. She thinks that after all of these executive orders and appointments by fiat, it is finally time. But I frankly think such gamesmanship wastes time. I said to her, as I say now to Governor Palin, I understand the rage. I understand the frustration. Just put it to better use, because you're not the only ones exasperated. Democrats are too. Remember, Texas Democratic Congressman Henry Quay are telling me the president risks his own Katrina moment, his words, by appearing oblivious to the building battle at the border. Remember as well all the Democratic candidates who've been urging the president to fix a health care law that's flatlining their reelection chances as we speak. And all of those who don't want him within a time zone of their frantic reelection campaigns. They're nervous about busloads of illegals that go nowhere, now funded to the tune of billions of dollars just to put them anywhere. They're nervous about a veterans agency that is killing our veterans, an IRS that is losing emails, an EPA that is making its own rules, unchecked, unbalanced. No wonder so many unhinged. So go ahead, as do I, and call some of these ideas crazy, maybe Sarah Palin crazy. Go ahead and dismiss her doom and gloom, as many did, or talk at death panels that later proved, that not too far off the mark. Now, I'm not for legal sideshows, but I understand the political shows, well, that trigger them. A president who ignores crises at his own peril, and now the country's peril. We don't have time for any of this nonsense, but nonsense we have, and a chain reaction of events we now can't control. 41 years ago this summer, the notion of impeaching Richard Nixon still seemed absurd. 40 years ago this day, we were only a month away from it becoming reality. That's the thing about untapped rage. Left unaddressed, it rages all the more. Oddly, around a president who shows no drama, but sure seems to be creating plenty of it himself. Again, I think it is folly to talk of impeaching this president, even suing this president. There's too much else we should be doing. Maybe demand special prosecutors, demand action on your own immigration plan. But here's what I'm saying. Don't legalese, lead. But those are just my thoughts. Hashtag Cavuto to tell me yours. If you have anything nasty to say, hashtag O'Reilly. Hashtag O'Reilly. Anyway, but first I want you to hear someone for whom I've had great respect for decades now. But boy, tour de force now. I want you to hear Pat Buchanan, historian, Richard Nixon confidant, Richard Nixon aide, Richard Nixon friend, accepting the blemishes and all, Richard Nixon expert. You see, Pat knew him well, advised him closely, and says Republicans are wasting their time thinking they can make history repeat itself. Pat says all this impeachment talk misses the point and robs Republicans of making far more valuable points. What's more, Pat says instead of looking back to the end of Nixon's presidency, Republicans would be wise to remember how that presidency began, against all odds and even against all reason. Pat spells it out brilliantly in The Greatest Comeback, how Richard Nixon rose from defeat to create the new majority. So, Pat, great book. I want to get into it.
Thank you very much, my friend.
And I don't want to talk about the resignation as much as I want to talk about Republicans wanting to revisit it on this president and forcing impeachment. What do you think?
Mistake. For this reason, I agree with the passion, energy, and fire of Sarah Palin. What you listed, all the things Obama has done and failed to do down on that border, that's a dereliction of duty. Look at the VA scandal, how that's been mishandled. Look at Benghazi, where he was out of the loop. Not only the Republicans and the conservatives, but now many of the mainstream media, many Democrats are saying, look, the guy is either incompetent, he's not on top of the job, something's wrong with him, this country needs a change. We got an election in 4 months. And I think, Neil, the idea of going down the impeachment road is to go down a rabbit hole. It's to take us away from the main game right now, which is to win this election, win the United States Senate. Then let's have all these other arguments. But we got a winning hand.
But wait,
now.
are you saying that if they do take the Senate, then they go ahead with all this?
No, I'm saying win the Senate, you know. Yeah. And you're like you're sitting there with a full house.
Right.
And you don't want to throw away a couple of cards. Hold it and go with the cards you got and win the pot in November.
I almost feel, Pat, that it's like the Democrats are sucking them into the sky.
Oh, they're looking at some of my old friends on MSNBC. Oh, they're going to impeach him. Let's get together and fight and save him.
You had friends at MSNBC?
I did listen. There were a lot of my friends here, but they're energized over it, and they're talking. We got to, and you don't want to energize Obama's base, the president's base. And if
they do right now. Again, like you, I don't agree with the approach. I think it's theatrical. I think it wastes time. I can well understand the frustration. All these executive orders. Of course, other presidents have executive orders. I think this president's overstepped the bounds. Be that as it may, I just think that it wastes valuable time. So how can they press their case if they can't even get the Senate to take their case?
You mean the impeachment folks?
No, the Republicans who feel that they're going nowhere because the president goes right past them.
Well, I mean, look, there's one thing they could have done, and look, they failed to do it. Obamacare would not be the law of the land if the Congress of the United States, the House, had not voted to fund Obamacare.
That's exactly
now, they
right.
tried, they walked up that hill, and they got beat, and they failed, and they backed down, and they quit. Now,
well, they were outnumbered. They were outnumbered.
Yeah, well, you don't think they're going to be outnumbered on impeachment?
Right.